Everyone is vulnerable to being pinned when life plays hardball, whether it is a physical or mental health condition. No one can stand alone. For those who are not pinned, appreciate that it could be you or loved one someday. So when you see a chance to help someone, please do. They are not weak, they are pinned. Even a slight hand up and a listening ear can begin seriously lightening the load, change, or save a life. Help end stigma. Move from being pinned to purpose. Time for a hand up.
Hello, everyone. It's Jeff Moore. I'm the founder of the Pin to Purpose podcast. It's my great pleasure to have our guest with us today, Lisa Garrelts, who's dialing in from Zurich, I believe, and who is the founder of NeuroMynds. And so I'll say a bit about Lisa's background and then say a couple more words about this podcast. And then I'll pass it over to her for a great conversation. So Lisa is the founder of NeuroMynds, as I mentioned, and she'll explain to everybody a lot more about what she does there. She's an author, a speaker, a visionary, a people economist, a system builder. It's focused on neuro leadership, combining AI and psychology to shape the work of the future and improve people's lives globally. So there's a lot going on there and a lot you're contributing to. So it's really fantastic to get to meet you and have this chat today. I also want to thank our mutual friend, Tatiana Petruka, who is also based in Zurich, who introduced us. And I've done some work with Tatiana, another great person. So really thank you to Tatiana for connecting us. And before I pass it over to you, Lisa, I just want to remind our viewers that, especially people who haven't seen this before, the reason I founded the Pin to Purpose podcast was to help shatter stigma, to have open conversations about mental health and well-being, and to give people a hand up on their healing journeys. So, by bringing great people like Lisa and the other guests we've had, you're always hearing a new story, hearing about other people's lived experience, and hearing about what they're doing in the world to really give people a hand up. So Lisa, why don't I, again, thank you so much for joining me today. And why don't I pass it over to you to say some introductory words about yourself as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Joe, for having me. I really appreciate it. And about myself, I'm 36 years old. I'm based in Zurich since 12 years already. I've lived in south of France and London before, and originally from Germany, born and raised there, with Syrian Turkish roots. And a lot to unpack today in terms of my journey, what I went through, and what I created to actually help other people to have happier and healthier lives.
Wonderful. And I was reading too online, I guess you come from a town, I believe, in Germany that is a town of philosophers, right? Or a city of philosophers, etc. So as we begin, I found that very interesting. And I wanted to ask you how you feel that might have affected or inspired you as well, coming from that type of community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm originally from Heidelberg. And I do have to say, though, that Heidelberg is a very academic city. And I never fitted academia. So I had a bit of a love-hate relationship with Heidelberg when I was younger. Also because I'm not like specifically from the city center, but a little bit outside of the city, but still belonging to Heidelberg. And I think for me, it was as a kid quite a rough journey because I was always a neurodivergent. I never really fitted, let's say, the boxes that have been prepared for me to fit in. And I think today I am much more connected to Heidelberg, to my roots, to philosophy, because I think without philosophy, we will not be able to actually develop as a society. So I think it's very important to ask ourselves very deep questions in order to have a very happy and fulfilled life.
Yeah, no, that's great. So tell me a bit more about your background and your journey. As over time it's led you to where you are today, but some of the points, as you said, you felt that you didn't fit in and you're neurodivergent. And so, like other guests I've had, it's a challenge sometimes to talk about these times, and yet they are formative and they lead us to be able to help others. So if there's things you'd like to share about that.
Yes, absolutely. I think Everyone that has like significant stories to tell always had a few challenges to go through. And I think it was the same for me. And with the biggest challenges, also transformation can happen. So I was born into a restaurant kind of cocktail bar family. So my dad and my mom, they've been working a lot in the restaurant downstairs. And I had a very loving and caring home. However, we had a very dysregulated, let's say, family dynamics at home. So my parents, they actually divorced when I was 5. And then I moved with my mom to a different apartment. And basically my mom was working a lot. So I had to be, let's say, quite a grown-up already early on, which has shaped on how I had to be responsible for myself. I already realized in kindergarten that I was different because even though I was tying shoelaces of the younger ones and really taking care of everyone, having a strong sense of justice, I was in the corner of shame almost every single day because during nap time, as an ADHD autistic kid, I didn't want to sleep. I had too much energy, not too much energy, but I had a lot of energy. I don't want to phrase it as too much, but I was disturbing the peace, in vertical commas, of the nannies working there. So today, as an adult, I understand that they wanted to have their lunch break in peace. However, for me, it was punishment that I had on a regular basis to put me in the corner of shame and just be quiet, which is quite a torture. I think nowadays we understand a little bit more around neurodivergence and that some cognitive variations are different, natural but different, and how to deal with it. But I think it went on to school. I was bullied as of day one. I had a lot of guys, actually, boys, that have been waiting for me every single day after school to beat me up, which was quite tough.
I'm sure. So tough. That's terrible. Yeah.
It is. But I also have to say, today as an adult, I understand that if people, especially male energy, has to team up to defeat someone, it means that this someone is very strong. And I never understood that because there is a lot of gaslighting, marginalization, and a lot of talking happening that you are just not right as you are. Something is wrong with you. And I had one teacher, I was just reminded the other day about this situation where I was not really focusing towards the teachers. I was talking to my neighbor, and at some point my teacher came up and she was pulling my hair and was turning my head towards the front. So these kind of, let's say, violent things happened on quite a regular basis. Also, like when I was a more mature kid, let's say 12, 13, 14 years old, I got beaten up a lot by others. And today I understand it was not because I had bad intentions, but because I was very honest. And honesty is something that in society sometimes can be perceived as something bad if you don't have the right framing of getting your points across or asking questions. And I think there are so many misunderstandings between neurodivergence and neurotypical people. And I think today I found my peace, but I will also dive in later into my job journey, the workplace struggles that I had. But I think today I can just say that we do have these different neurological profiles, and we understand about it. And I really want to help our society to end the stigma and be able to understand that everyone's communication style is entirely different. There's nothing better, nothing worse. It's just very different. And how do you actually bridge these gaps and also get neurodivergence to a point to create their environments where they can actually be themselves? And I think this is the key factor also to be happy and healthy. And the health aspect is not only mentally, but also we all know that a lot of stress, which neurodivergents naturally have, unfortunately cause a lot of distress also in the body, meaning that the nervous system is on a constant basis dysregulated, and this can lead to autoimmune diseases. So you can become like severely sick because of your environment. And this is why I'm very eager with NeuroMynds, to yeah, to raise a point here, to get my points across into many places in the world as I can, so people actually know about it, they can seek support. But I think it's also very important to understand from an educational landscape, how do I work and how does my environment or the world work? So I can actually, put all the pieces together, have my holistic picture, and then create the life that I want. That also comes, of course, with a lot of sacrifices, in vertical commas, where job changes are involved, circle of friends changes, stronger boundaries towards family members that have crossed them on a regular basis, or as well, breaking up with partners and creating entire new lives, basically, which is usually the aftermath, I call it, once people are officially diagnosed. But yeah, that's it.
Were there other children at school with you who later on you would have realized were neurodivergent?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I have a very good friend. She's also now in Zurich, funny enough. And she is neurodivergent as well. She has aphantasia as well. We were a little bit scared to meet each other. Like, it was around 2 years ago when we met again, because I wasn't sure how she was, because from my experience in childhood, my school time was so horrible that for me, I was thinking that everyone was horrible to me, right? But this is also because as a neurodivergent, you feel the emotions so intensely, like times 10 or times 1,000, which means that it's very hard to filter in these moments when you're so emotional. And for me, that was ongoing for so many years. And when I met her, we had conversations, and then we found out that we are both neurodivergent. We instantly loved each other, and she also had a lot of struggles in school, different struggles, but very common struggles, I would say. I still do have a few that also have been bullied that I remember from afar, but I haven't been really connected with them because I wanted to keep myself safe in school subconsciously, I guess. So I was trying to stay away from them as well, which is really sad because at the end of the day, usually you should team up. But that's something that I understand today. Yeah.
And have you, just one more question along these lines, have you met any of the people that bullied you over the years through like any type of reunion or something? And have any of them, as a mature adult now, kind of realized and apologized?
Yeah, absolutely not. I think, I mean, yes, I met them. We had a reunion a few years ago. I think it was 7 or 8 years ago. I have never been invited again to a reunion because, again, I was the intruder or the ones that have been pissing off the people. And I today understand, when I reflect, that a lot of people carry their own shadows and their own demons, and it's very hard if you're coming in as someone authentic and honest that can put a mirror, and it hurts.
Yes, right.
So all the opportunities that they might not have taken for their lives, or the things, wanting to be more outgoing or wanting to be, I don't know, having a different life than what they have, is something where I felt a strong sense of jealousy. Obviously not in everyone, but in a lot. And hence, I think one of the reasons why I was not invited anymore. I was rather quiet on that evening because I also know about the dynamics and that I can also have a very polarizational personality at times, depending on which area you are. And because it was more, let's say, a tiny village towards Heidelberg, I also know that I cannot come with my, let's say, big city attitude and whatnot, because I know that it's not going to be the best for everyone.
Sure.
But I also didn't try to play a different character because that wouldn't be me.
Right.
However, I had a few discussions with some where I thought we can connect maybe now on a better level or on a different level. And yeah, I think most people don't realize when they do these things. They think for them it's like, because it doesn't affect them personally, they're just the sender of the message. for them, there's not a big emotion attached to it, right?
Yeah.
So I was asking one specific person that was really bad towards me and calling me names and everything. And I said, do you realize that you've been really mean to me back in the days, even though I've never done anything bad to you? I have never had any negative intentions, etc. And he said, well, I just felt you're different. And that was it. And I was like, wow. So it was a very rather short discussion around it. And I was like, oh my God, years of despair, years of like struggling with my past, etc., years of working through my emotions. Poof, in one sentence, it was like done for him. And I was like, oh, wow, okay.
Complete lack of understanding and empathy there. I mean, I think.
Yes. And I think my entire life, I always wanted to understand other people and why they're doing things. Maybe this is also one of the reasons why I ended up in people and culture, working through psychology and neuroscience, etc., to understand people, maybe to resolve my own traumas. But I think that a lot of people they don't like to confront themselves, and this is
Right.
I think it's very sad. But yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about, so once you got through school and once you started working, etc., tell me a bit more. We'll get to NeuroMynds soon, but tell me a bit more about your journey then in the work world and etc. earlier on.
Yeah. So in my school time, I learned I was wrong. Everything I did, everything I said, everything I represented, my energy, my aura, everything was wrong. So
that's what you felt based on the way people were reacting.
yes, and also people told me, oh, this is not how we do things. Oh, this is not how it's been done. What are you saying? Why are you communicating that way? Blah, blah, blah. You come across as arrogant. All this, all that. So many things that I had to listen to. And when I was 18, I did an apprentice in personal consulting. I did that for 3 years. So it included personal management, it included workplace health, etc. I've done that. I've been working in headhunting for many years, and then moved up to HR business partnering, ended up leading an HR department. And then in my last station, I did organizational development, which also involved a lot of talent acquisition. So I've managed a career. However, the sentiment and the feeling that I took from my school time into my work and adult life was I had to mask who I am in order to be accepted, understood, and successful. And this was, I think, a big contributor, unfortunately, to certain conditions that I have from a physical health perspective. So in any case, what I can say here, what I think is really important is that even if you are masking, you will always have people that love you and you will have people that hate you. And this is why I also want to encourage everyone to unmask, because the more you are unmasking, even if it doesn't feel comfortable in the beginning, you will attract people that like your true self and not the mask that you've built, right? So for me, the masking part was strong. And at the same time, I think humans have instincts. It doesn't matter if they're neurodivergent or not. They can sense if something's off. So even if you're masking as a neurodivergent, they will sense that you're different. But if you don't know it yourself, it is very hard, because you are facing real struggles with being fired on a regular basis, having boss changes, and being an inherited employee that in any case, in most cases, gets fired in companies. You have situations where authority is being at play, and authority is something that is not an easy game for neurodivergents, because naturally we are very curious, we are explorative, we're excited about things, and we just run. We are building planes while flying it. So and these are, let's say, character attributes that are not well perceived in most authoritarian environments. So I think this was something that I had along my entire career. I always had struggles, especially with bosses. Not because my performance wasn't right. My performance was always outstanding, but because the way I communicated and I have been perceived towards authority was not the right way. So I think maybe I can share like 1 or 2 stories to make it a bit more tangible for people. I once had a boss from an Eastern European country, and I know that authority there is something that you, especially as a woman, sometimes have to possess in order to get a promotion, in order to be taken serious, etc., which is also tied and connected to patriarchal systems. But I had a boss that was, I think, probably quite unaware of her behavior, but I was also unaware of my neurodivergence. So there were like so many clashes. She entered the room when we met the first time, and she was hired. So I was not included in the process or anything. This was decided by top management. And she looked at me from head to toe. She was really scanning me. And I knew in this moment, I think it's not going to be going right, to be honest. It's not a self-fulfilling prophecy, because I always tried to actually pamper the person that's in front of me. I was always trying to comfort them. So I just want to make a remark on that one, because this is something people could think of. But yeah, the problem ended up being that when we had FaceTimes, for example, because we had to discuss some numbers, etc., I had 2 screens. I had my laptop on the right side, which had the camera, and I had the big screen in front of me where I had to give her some numbers. And she was asking me that I should politely look into the camera. And I said, I would love to do it. However, I have like the Excel sheet in front of me on the big screen, and I cannot pull it over because otherwise the screen will be too small on the laptop. And she said, "Oh, so you're not getting such a basic thing done." I was like, "Oh wow." So I didn't know how to react. I was also very young. However, I told her that I can try, but it's not guaranteed, right? So I was pulling the whole thing over, and then I couldn't scroll properly anymore, etc. It was a mess. So I was giving her the numbers, but in a very like awkward way, because at the same time I was at the screen like this. And then she said, "But can you look into the camera? This is really disrespectful." And in that moment, I understood it was not about giving her the numbers. It was about me, and that she didn't like me. And these are situations that neurodivergents have quite often, unfortunately. So I think they sense your power, and they sense that you are a good person, and then they try to destroy you subconsciously, which is, I heard these kind of similar stories like 1,000 times already. And yeah, another one is, for example, that you're in the workplace, you start, everything is cool, you have an amazing performance, you're outperforming all the metrics that have been given to you, etc. You get great feedback, even from the CEO. Everyone is like super excited about you. And then after 6 to 12 months, you start having a slight drop, which is due to the fact that you're getting bored. And if you don't know about your neurodivergence, bore out is a real thing. It's the equivalent to a burnout. And for neurodivergence, it's the worst to have a bore out. Because if you have repetitive tasks on an ongoing basis, and if there is no room to actually create something new, or be involved in different projects, etc., and you have the feeling that you just have to work on this one tiny thing, you're just becoming bored, because your brain is full of complexity, complex thinking. So you need a variety of problems to solve, which is something that if you don't know it, it's really hard, But I think, yeah, these kind of things are happening on an ongoing basis. So I think once you know, what really saves you as a neurodivergent is by setting boundaries, but firm boundaries. Because if you don't do that, you will end up in burnout or bore out on a constant basis. And at the same time is really trusting yourself, trusting your instincts, and be in tune with yourself, because you have been born with it. But we also get indoctrinated in school that we should distrust our feelings because of authority, or because of factors that are, let's say, beneficial for the systems, but not for yourself. And I think this reconnection will help a lot of neurodivergents, but also everyone else, to actually say no to environments that are not serving them, and also to not even engage with people when you feel that the energy is off. I think, yeah.
I hadn't heard the term bore out, so that's very interesting to me. I wasn't familiar with that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you if you can, lead up to NeuroMynds and then get into more details about what you've been building, how it's going, how it's helping people. But if there's other things you wanted to talk about on your path before then, please do as well.
Thank you. I had a burnout in 2024. And it was the first time in my life where I felt absolutely defeated. I was lying on the floor. I couldn't really move. I was just dizzy in my head. And I knew that I have to change something. I have to change my entire life, basically. I have to change everything, because I was not living my true authentic self. I was not in the environments that I want. And just to mention, I love talent acquisition. I love people and culture work. I love it so much from a content perspective. But the environments I worked in have been, frankly, most of them quite horrible. And I think that for me, this burnout was really a game changer, because I had these toxic dynamics. I was bored in my job from a content perspective. So a lot of things came together and I was defeated. And I wouldn't be neurodivergent if I wouldn't have started something during my burnout. So we usually cannot keep our feet still. So for us, having rest also means we can do something active, an active rest, how people call it, like in sports, for example. And this is exactly what I did. So first, I went for a month to Kenya. I did some conservation work with colobus monkeys. I love monkeys, and I also love to study their behavior, because it's very related to humans. I was always fascinated by them. And it was colobus monkeys, which is an endangered species in Kenya. And they really have a hard time to increase the population. So there was a lot of education work involved. But we also did animal care, cleaning the cages, etc. But at the same time, working with the vet, and also seeing how we can actually combine humans and animals in a more harmonious way. So this was basically what I did there. It totally got me out of my comfort zone, because I have been sleeping on a bed, if you can call it a bed, in a home or environment that I never had. It was really getting me out of my comfort zone. I don't know how many different insects I have been counting in my room. But also me being autistic, having anything that is like insecty and fast, etc., is something that I don't like. So for me, it was really hard. So basically, during this trip, I was giving myself a promise. I promised myself that I will solve on a global scale the problems that I faced, also the problems with having the right information at hand. Because when I was diagnosed or assessed, I don't like the word diagnosis, but when I was assessed,
Excuse me.
I was, it was like I had information from the 80s, from the 90s. So I thought I have a disability, I am sick, which is not the case. It's a natural cognitive variation, but it can come with comorbidities due to environmental factors. So yes, there can be sometimes preconditions by DNA, etc. But that's a whole different story. I just wanted to get the record straight. And I also struggled to find the right people, like who are the neurodivergents? Where are my people, And at the same time, I realized that traditional psychotherapy that I did for years didn't help me. Also, before I was assessed, I had already psychotherapy, and it was not what I needed. Absolutely not, because our brain, or neurodivergent brains, are mostly wired in the now and in the future, whereas traditional psychotherapy is loving to dig in the past, etc. But most neurodivergents, they're very introspective and very reflective people, most of them, which means that they already observed the patterns from the past. They already know, they have the awareness, but they don't have the tools to actually put it into practice and put the horsepower on the street. And I realized that coaching, which has a negative connotation, so we are moving towards coaching / mentoring, where a lot of education is needed at the moment, to also get neurodivergence to the understanding why coaching and mentoring is more effective than traditional psychotherapy for many, because the approach is very different. You get tools like just in time and on the spot that you can actually use tomorrow. So you have an immediate effect and immediate results, which is something that neurodivergents like to have, immediate results, getting things going. And at the same time, I also wanted to create something where you have almost zero bureaucracy. And I have done some research before I started NeuroMynds to validate my hypothesis that I had, and to create this platform with the community. So they tell me what they like, what they don't like, what they need, what they feel they don't need. So it was like a mutual effort to actually get NeuroMynds to the point where it is today, where we have the 3 pillars together.
Excuse
Is
me.
connect, learn, and grow. So you have the community, you have the education that is just in time with the latest scientific resources. We will be actually implementing in 2 weeks' time subscriptions with 3 different tiers, where we combine neuroscience, psychology, social anthropology, and the different disciplines, so they actually work together. Because in research, they are partially so siloed and so one-sided, but we have to look at the whole thing. And it's very complex. And I understand that a lot of people also don't want to touch things because they are complex. But I love complexity, and I want to bring it together and make it as simple as possible. And we have already 14 mind mentors on the platform from 5 different countries that are accessible, that are available. Because my experience as well was, when I researched all of that, to find the right person, to find the right information, it took me years. And it shouldn't take years to find the right resources, And also, I think with traditional psychotherapy, you often have to commute. So you have to enter a room and see a person on site. If you prefer that, great. A lot of neurodivergents that I know don't, but obviously you have different preferences. However, I wanted to make it very easy and simple, because when I walked into my first therapy room with a person that claimed that they are specialized in ADHD and autism, I immediately figured out by energy that this is not a vibe, this is not a match, and I don't want to share my darkest secret with that person. So that's why on our platform we have a 15-minute vibe check that is entirely for free, that people can book to really get a feel for the person that is mentoring them, because I think it's very important that you feel really comfortable with someone. And it
makes
was
sense.
1.5 years of progress. So yes.
And are people finding you as individuals? Are you having organizations and companies that are finding you and then having it as a benefit for neurodivergent employees? Or what are the different scenarios here?
That's a very good question. So at the moment, we are focusing on the individuals, so they get immediate access to support, while at the same time fostering education and understanding around why the mentoring is a better approach for neurodivergence. Regarding companies, we are still discussing with tech on how we can actually do it on the platform. We could sell, for example, packages, because I also observed that a lot of companies are giving benefits right now for psychotherapy for their people, meaning that they have platforms, etc., where they can just go and actually get hours paid by the company. However, I think for neurodivergence, there is not such thing yet. So I think this would be a good bonus point, because at the same time, it's 20% of the global population, and every company has them. So I think we will do the same model at some point. I'm still figuring out how we can do that, because obviously we would then also need more mentors. So I'm at the verge of thinking about how we can scale and grow so we have as many as possible people be reached with the topic. But at the moment, I also get a lot of messages on LinkedIn from companies that are asking if we have this model already, the packages, etc., which we do not have yet. But we are working on it. At the moment, it's focusing on the individuals.
Right. I want to go to a slightly different topic for a moment because I saw, I think you did a LinkedIn post. Maybe you were at an HR conference recently and you were also talking about AI and how, in terms of maybe how we're going in with AI and how it might be more optimally, integrated, and in terms of our own, in terms of, this is what the brain economy, I think, is foundational, or at its foundations, right? It's brain health and brain skills. And so
Yes.
optimizing those, and then AI, as you said, I think it's garbage in, garbage out. It can be, right? Or but I wondered if you had some comments further on AI and how it's, how it might be more optimally used and where it's not going to be so useful.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for the question. I was, I think, one of the first HR people, at least from what I understood from my environment, that was actually saying immediately, yes, we implement it. Yes, we use it. Yes, we will create, let's say, user manuals, etc., for people, also to keep the company safe for compliance reasons. I got a lot of headwind from a lot of people, especially CEOs and executive managers that didn't want to use it because it's something new, right? If there's something new, like ChatGPT back in the days, then we better not touch it. But I was the first one that said, yes, this is actually improving processes. It's improving lives of people in a way that they can actually outsource certain tasks that require like big text or emails or whatever. Things can be made easier, so they free up their time, which is important, right? To have a better work-life balance, basically. But I now see a trend where this whole AI thing, I try to be as holistic as possible, but it's also complex to explain. So AI is an incredible tool that should be used absolutely everywhere. It should be used. We have it. It should be used. If it can automate workflows, etc., it absolutely makes sense. If you have a chat function for emergencies or whatever, I think it's incredibly useful and it's needed. However, I have two remarks from an economic perspective. First of all, a lot of companies claim that they will replace 50% of their stuff with AI. The whole capitalistic system doesn't work if white-collar jobs are being canceled and they cannot afford to consume anymore. So this will fail. It doesn't make sense. And on the other side, I see, and I also feel that myself very strongly, that I need human connection. I need people.
Right.
I need personality. And as much as AI can support you, it will never in your life replace a human being that is able to speak to you, that can guide you, that can support you. And we just talk about simple customer care, for example. You have a product that you want to purchase and something isn't right, you need support. People are fed up with AI. They're really fed up. So if you want to use AI as a company, it's a great tool. And especially neurodivergents, I think most of them, they just got the hang of it like immediately, creating their own agents, creating workflows, learning how to prompt in a proper way. I mean, these are all skills that neurodivergents possess in any function. It doesn't matter if they're in tech or not, but most of them possess these skills, which is really important. But the human touch is also very important. And I think that we are at the verge of, maybe that's what I foresee, at least, that we have a little bit of a protest of people being like, actually, it's not going into the right direction. So AI is great, but what about the ethical use of it? Because I also see a lot of companies right now, especially with Quit GPT, they call it now, right? With the contracts that have happened. This is not going to go well. And I think that all of these, let's say, aggressive growth strategies have gone too far. and people notice and people don't like it. And we are 8.5 billion people in this world, and it will backfire if it's going too far, too fast, too aggressive, and into the wrong direction. Those are my remarks.
Right. Now, just maybe any more comments you'd like to make about NeuroMynds and what you're excited about as you build out your platform and the the engagement of the people you have so far. I'll be happy to post the website link so that our listeners, anybody who wants to learn more, can go there and reach out to you if they are interested in seeing about your services, etc. But is there anything else you'd like to share in terms of NeuroMynds with everybody?
Mm-hmm. I think if we can create a world where we just accept each other, and it doesn't even matter if you're neurodivergent or not, but just accepting that people are different. I think all the problems that we have at the moment, I don't have to go into details from a news perspective, we wouldn't have them. So I think my great vision with NeuroMynds is to, in a way, heal as many neurodivergents as we can in order to create these environments. Because what I also know is that neurodivergents are incredibly powerful, incredibly philosophical, and they have the power to actually drive forces like Greta Thunberg, for example. If you like her or not is a different thing, but she's a very powerful person that has actually moved millions of people worldwide. And neurodivergents have this capability of creating a better world. And I feel that with NeuroMynds, we'll make it happen. It takes time. It's a community business. But I think with community, everything is rising or falling at the end. And I hope that, we can make a few changes on this planet.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Well, thanks so much for being our guest today, Lisa. I'm very happy that you got to share your journey or parts of your journey, and also to introduce NeuroMynds to our listeners, and again, encourage people to take a look at the website for NeuroMynds and reach out to Lisa if you are interested in what they're doing. So thanks so much, Lisa. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Geoff. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
Take care.